Good morning, Bellevue Heights, and welcome to the Friday edition of BHC Today. It's a beautiful day to celebrate the glory of God. I was thinking today about one of my favorite characters in all the Bible. His name is Joseph. I love Joseph because even though he had a lot of hardships in life, he turned out always with a good attitude. Even though he had bad circumstances, he always kept his faith in God and trusted in God, and God blessed him tremendously. I look at Joseph's life in 4 different phases. I call it the pit, Potiphar's house, prison, and the palace. The pit, Potiphar's house, prison, and the palace. The 4 P's of Joseph. First, he was thrown into a pit and left for dead by his brothers. Oh, they were jealous of him because he was the favorite son of his father. But instead of killing him, they sold him to a traveling band of Ishmaelites who took him to Egypt and sold him to a man named Potiphar. He was a slave, a servant in Potiphar's house, but God blessed him in Potiphar's house, and everything he did prospered. But Potiphar's wife falsely accused him of a crime, and Potiphar had Joseph unjustly thrown into prison. So now he's gone from the pit to Potiphar's house to prison. But even in prison, Joseph prospered. He became in charge of all the other prisoners. 2 members of Pharaoh's establishment, the cupbearer and the baker, were thrown into prison, and they each had dreams. And Joseph interpreted those dreams. The cupbearer promised Joseph he would remember him when he gets back to Pharaoh, but he did not. 2 years passed, and the Pharaoh has a dream, and no one could interpret it. But then the cupbearer remembered Joseph. Joseph interprets the dream, and he's taken out of prison to the palace. He's the second in command over all Egypt. From the pit to Potiphar's house, to the prison, to the palace. It's a great story of how God used Joseph, even in his bad circumstances, to do great things. Years later, the famine came, and Joseph's brothers came down from the land of Canaan to buy food. They did not recognize Joseph, but Joseph recognized them. And after a series of give and takes and playing with them, he finally revealed himself to his brothers. His brothers were scared to death. But do you remember what Joseph said? He says, "Do not be afraid, for it was not you who sent me down here, but God. For even though you intended to harm me, God intended it for good." Friends, that's a great way to look at life. Even when people intend to harm you, God can use it for good. God can take the bad things in life and turn them into good. When you place your trust and your faith in God, and when you find yourself in a pit, or when you find yourself in prison, when you find yourself falsely accused or unjustly punished, keep faith in God and say, "God, what is it that you can teach me here? What can I learn from this? How can I turn this bad situation into good?" And friends, remember the saying of Joseph: even though others mean to harm you, God means it for good. God can take the bad and turn it into good. And that, my friends, is an encouraging word.